In this video, I'm going to show you the best budget studio monitors you can get at every price range. No matter your budget, I will help you find the best pick for your needs. Let's go! First, we are going to take a look at the best options in the under $250 range. First, we have the PreSonus Eris E3.5, and for the price, these are incredibly honest with a flat frequency response, which is exactly what you want for getting a mix right. I really appreciate the acoustic tuning knobs on the back for adjusting the high and low frequencies to your room. Though the bass below about 80 Hz is pretty much non-existent on these 3.5-inch woofers. While they are not for shaking the room, they give you a much more accurate picture of your sound than the more bass-heavy MkII, making them a solid choice for beginner producers. Next, we have the MkII CR3X, and these are immediately more convenient for daily use with a front-facing volume knob and a very handy headphone jack. They definitely have a more pronounced low-end punch compared to the Eris, which makes them enjoyable for listening, but that boosted bass can be pretty misleading when you are trying to make critical mixing. While they look great on a desk, curious about audio accuracy, the PreSonus better job, feeling more like a high. Finally, we have the JBL Professional 104 BT, which stands out with its sleek look, a coaxial driver that puts the tweeter in the center of the woofer for a wider sweet spot, and built-in Bluetooth. However, I found the sound to be a bit hollowed out in the mid-range, and the bass, despite the larger 4.5-inch driver, feels even less present than on the MkII, coming across as a little thin. The Bluetooth is a fantastic bonus for casual listening, but for actual studio work, both the MkII and especially the PreSonus offer a more useful frequency response for creators. Next, we are going to take a look at the best options in the $250 to $450 range. First, we have the JBL 305P MkII, and for the price, the stereo imaging from its special waveguide is absolutely impressive, making your mix feel wide and detailed no matter where you sit. It has a surprisingly tight bass response for a 5-inch speaker, but with its rear-facing bass port, you really need to be careful about placing it too close to a wall, or it can get a bit boomy. Compared to the Yamaha, these feel more fun to listen to, offering great clarity in the high frequencies without being harsh, making them a solid choice if you want a monitor that's great for both creating and just enjoying music. Next, we have the MkII Audio LP6V2, which offers a bigger 6.5-inch woofer that gives it a clear edge in low-end frequency response over both the JBL and the Yamaha. What I really love is the front-facing bass port and the incredibly detailed placement diagrams on the back, so you can easily tune them to your specific room, which is something the others don't make quite as simple. These are known for their incredibly flat and honest sound, which means they won't flatter your mix like the JBLs might, but what you hear is exactly what you get, making them a fantastic reference tool. Finally, we have the Yamaha HS5, the one you've probably seen in countless studios with its iconic white cone, and it's famous for one thing: brutal, mid-range honesty. Its sound is incredibly flat and almost clinical, which is fantastic for making sure that your vocals and guitars will sound good on any system, but it really lacks deep bass, reaching down to only 54 Hz, so you'll definitely notice the missing low-end rumble compared to the MkII. Frankly, these can be fatiguing to listen to for long periods and aren't built for casual listening, but if your number one goal is creating a mix that translates perfectly everywhere else, the HS5 is a classic tool that will force you to get it right. Next, we're going to take a look at the best options in the $450 to $700 range. First, we have the Atom Audio T7V. What immediately hit me with these monitors is the UART accelerated ribbon tweeter, which makes the high end incredibly clear and detailed, almost to the point where you can hear every little breath and reverb tail. The 7-inch woofer gives you a really tight and controlled bass response that reaches down to 39 Hz, but honestly, it lacks the deep punch and extension you feel from the larger MkII LP8. Overall, these are brilliantly analytical speakers, perfect for surgical mixing and finding flaws, though they might feel a bit too honest or sterile for just creating music compared to the more vibey KRK. Next, we have the MkII Audio LP8V2. The most obvious difference here is the massive low-end authority you get from this 8-inch woofer, providing a deep and impressively flat bass response all the way down to 37 Hz. I found the boundary compensation equalizer switches on the back to be a lifesaver for tuning them to my room, a feature much more practical than the simple high and low shelves on the Atom. While the 1-inch soft dome tweeter is very accurate and non-fatiguing, it simply doesn't have that super airy, three-dimensional sparkle that makes the tweeter on the T7V so special. Finally, we have the KRK Rocket 7G4. These stand out immediately with their built-in LCD screen that lets you visually shape the sound with a graphic equalizer, giving you far more onboard tuning power than either the MkII or the Atom. The 7-inch Kevlar woofer delivers that famous KRK forward punch that's great for producing hip-hop and electronic music, though its frequency response only goes down to 42 Hz, so it feels less deep than the other two. Out of the box, they have the most hyped or colored sound, but using that powerful digital signal processing to flatten the curve turns them into surprisingly capable and versatile monitors for mixing. Next, we are going to take a look at the best options in the $700 to $1,000 range. First, we have the IK Multimedia iLoud MTM. Its biggest trick is the built-in room calibration microphone that digitally corrects the sound for your specific room, giving you a shockingly flat frequency response from 40 Hz all the way up to 24,000 Hz. They're incredibly compact and lightweight, which is fantastic for smaller spaces, but this also means they just can't move as much air or produce that deep low-end punch you'd get from something bigger like the Yamaha HS5. Honestly, for getting surgically accurate mixes in an untreated or small bedroom studio, the technology inside these little speakers is really hard to beat in this price range. Next, we have the Yamaha HS5. These are legendary for being brutally honest and unforgiving, which is exactly what you need to make your mixes translate well everywhere else. That huge 8-inch woofer gives you a powerful and deep bass response down to 38 Hz without needing a subwoofer, but be warned, these speakers are absolutely massive and have a rear-facing port, so you need a decently sized treated room to make them work properly. Unlike the slightly more musical sounding focals or the digitally corrected iLouds, I find the HS5 have a very forward mid-range that can be a bit tiring after a few hours, but it forces you to fix problematic frequencies you might otherwise miss. Finally, we have the Focal Alpha 65 Evo. These immediately stand out because they sound incredibly balanced and musical, making them a lot more enjoyable for long sessions of writing or just listening compared to the sterile Yamahas. The 6.5-inch slate fiber cone provides a really tight and clean sound, and I love that the bass port is on the front, making them way easier to place in a room than the HS5S, though they don't dig quite as deep into the sub-bass frequencies. If you want a monitor that is both a reliable tool for mixing and something genuinely pleasant to create music with day in and day out without the clinical harshness, I think the Focals strike an amazing balance. Next, we're going to take a look at the best options in the $1,000 to $1,500 range. First, we have the Neumann KH 80 DSP. The clarity from these little 4-inch speakers is just laser focus because of their digital signal processing room correction, giving you an incredibly flat and honest sound. You get amazing stereo imaging that is perhaps even more analytical than the Atom, but that tiny woofer does struggle to produce deep sub-bass below 57 Hz, so you might need a subwoofer for certain genres. While the full room correction system requires buying a separate microphone, the precision you get in a less than perfect room is a game changer, making these a serious tool for critical mixing work. Next, we have the Atom Audio A7V. This monitor feels like a big step up in size with its 7-inch woofer, giving you a much deeper and more powerful low end than the Neumann, reaching all the way down to around 41 Hz. I really like the famous XArt ribbon tweeter, which gives you incredible detail in the highs without being harsh, and its onboard digital signal processing lets you switch between different sound profiles, a neat feature the Genelec lacks. The A7V is a fantastic all-rounder for both producing and mixing, although the sheer size and rear-firing bass port mean you really need to think about your room placement to get the best results. Finally, we have the Genelec 8030C. This is a true industry workhorse that you'll find in professional studios everywhere, and its tank-like aluminum build with that clever isopod stand feels incredibly premium and practical. It has a super tight and punchy bass from its 5-inch woofer that feels surprisingly full for its size, and its overall sound is famously translatable. Though I find those high frequencies can be a bit more forward or clinical compared to the smoother tweeter on the A7V. While it doesn't have the fancy digital signal processing of the other two, relying on simple dip switches for room tuning, its pure uncolored audio performance is what makes it a trusted reference for mixers who just need to hear the truth. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you found this video to be helpful, leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future.